Bruh, it's only been like 2 or 3 weeks. What's going on here? Today we are going over a guy that was recently traded from the Vancouver Canucks to the Chicago Blackhawks, and the idea that he could be moved once again to another team that may be inquiring about his services. Today we're heading over onto an article published by Arthur Staple on The Athletic on December 6th, 2023. A way too early trade list. Here are 10 forwards who could help the New York Rangers. Now, you kind of get the protocol here. The Athletic, paid for material, it's behind a paywall. So, to help us out with this idea, we're going over onto Spectors Hockey from December 9th, 2023, because Lyle Richardson goes out there and summarizes the Arthur Staple Athletic post. And this article is not behind a paywall, so it's easier to screenshot it, and I feel pretty comfortable doing that. So, we are talking today about the New York Rangers and the idea of them going out there and acquiring another forward. If you head over to the Rangers and their lines right now, they do have their pretty notable and pretty consistent guys that are at the top of this roster. Kreider, Zibanejad, Panarin, Alexis Lafreniere has been pretty good this season. Blake Wheeler is playing top-line right wing, according to Daily Faceoff right now, and that is very interesting, considering his career trajectory and where he's gone over the past few months here. But the idea is that the Rangers could be in the market for getting another forward, and if you look at what the article says, it is an interesting situation, because the Rangers are getting good goaltending, and they're getting timely scoring. But the article very well points out that the 5-on-5 play of New York hasn't really been the best up front, and that you could very well say that an extra, let's say, two-way capable forward is much needed in the flanks. This is not really an indictment against the team, it's just saying, hey, there is a need the Rangers have to potentially bolster up their winger depth. With guys like Tyler Mott leaving, there is an extra spot or two for other guys to take that role, which is why this article even exists in the first place, to examine different names that could fill that quota. Now, you already know from the title, you already know from the thumbnail who we are talking about in this video, but if we go over onto Spectors Hockey and read what The Athletic says, here is the summary. Arthur Staple acknowledged the New York Rangers' strong start to the season, but he feels they're not yet a complete team. He believes they need to add another forward or two, or three, to make this group faster and deeper. Rental options could include the Seattle Kraken's Jordan Eberle, San Jose Sharks' Anthony Duclair, Ottawa Senators' Vladimir Tarasenko, Montreal Canadiens' Sean Monahan, CBJ's Jack Roslovic, Anaheim Ducks' Adam Henrique, the Blackhawks' Anthony Beauvillier, and Nashville Predators' Kiefer Sherwood. Staple also suggested the Ducks' Frank Vatrano and the Philadelphia Flyers' Travis Konechny, both of whom are signed through next season. Spectors note, this is the Lyle Richardson analysis. Staple also noted the Rangers lack third-round picks in 24 and 25, as well as no second-rounders in 25 and 26 to use as trade chips. Bear in mind that Staple isn't saying the Rangers are interested in these players or pursuing them, it's merely his list of suggested targets that he thinks could improve the Blue Shirts' forward lines. Whether GM Chris Drury goes after any of them, or can win a possible bidding war before March 8th's trade deadline, remains to be seen. So I wanted to focus on one guy in particular, and then of course there's always the other guy that is tossed around there too. But for Anthony Beauvillier, this is a super interesting conversation, and one that I wanted to read about after I saw his name pop up in this article. Beauvillier is 26 years old, 5'11", 181, signed till the end of the season making $4.1 million. Now, you may be looking at Beauvillier and saying, hey, wait a minute, this guy was a consistent 30-ish point guy. He was a near, let's say, 20-goal guy. He got 20 goals once, but he's mostly been a 15-ish goal guy with the Islanders back in the day. And admittedly, the article even goes out there and says that part of the reason Beauvillier is included in this list is because he's been a Ranger killer during his days with the Islanders. But ever since getting traded over to Vancouver and being played in a much more limited role, Beauvillier's effectiveness has been so reduced, and it's kind of tragic to see, not gonna lie. Even last season, the guy had 20 points in 33 Vancouver games after getting traded over in the Bo Horvat deal. But this season, he only had 8 points in 22 games, and it's not really like he was playing all too well either. He was just a guy meddling around in the bottom six, doing what it was that he was doing. Sure, he was all right defensively, and sure, he wasn't a bad player by any means, but for the contract that he has, 4.15, he definitely wasn't playing up to that standard. Now, the Canucks had a lot of forward depth up front. You got the Kuzmenkos, you got the Bessers, you've got the Mikheyevs and the other guys, but still, Beauvillier wasn't really the guy being used, and as a result, his production suffered. Even in Chicago, after he got sent over in that beautiful Patrick Allvin trade, he started playing with Bedard, he got 1 goal in 6 games, and that's it. Beauvillier hasn't really been it this season. And sure, I get it, there's an argument that says if you're only getting this guy because you want a pretty alright two-way force, he can play along the boards, he can play in the bottom of your lineup, and he's not going to be bad, then sure, Beauvillier is an option. But for 4.15 mil, is this really the guy you want to go out there and spend your cap on? I guess you could say, hey, there's an added element of surprise, because if Beauvillier becomes the streaky, point-producing player like he was in Vancouver, then that's a pretty big win. And hey, I definitely won't discredit that. In Vancouver, in Long Island, Beauvillier was really streaky. Once he'd get on these overall good game stints, like, he was kind of unstoppable. He would just always be where the puck was, and he'd always be making the right plays. Even this season, we saw Beauvillier go on a little bit of a streak. So it's kind of interesting to know that this is a guy being considered by some writers as a potential Rangers target. And then, what I also wanted to do in this video was talk about Sean Monahan, because of course, we always have to talk about Sean Monahan. Anytime this guy's name pops up in trade rumors, it's always a big deal. He's had a pretty good season with the Canadiens this season, 16 points, 28 games played, on pace for about 46 on the year. Definitely a big improvement over what he has done the past few seasons, going back to his 2019-20 season with the Calgary Flames. Monahan is making a lot fewer dollars. He's making $1.985 million a year till the end of 2024. And so if you're going off of just pure value here, you're talking about guys which are worth money and worth points. Sean Monahan is worth a lot more than Anthony Beauvillier. And I guess you could go out there and make an argument for some of these other guys. Frank Vatrano's been good. Kiefer Sherwood gets a bunch of hits. He is a wrecking ball out there. But, of course, I'm focusing on Monahan and Beauvillier because they play on my two favorite teams, or at least one of them used to, and then the other one still is. But when it comes to Sean Monahan, if you wanted to round out the rest of the center core, I mean, Zibanejad, Trocheck, Bonino has been interesting this season. Bonino especially. This guy's been blocking shots like crazy. He's a very relied upon penalty kill defensive force. Vinny Trocheck is still on the team. He's pretty alright. It's tough to consider moving him. But when it comes to Monahan, I guess if you wanted to try Monahan on the wing, for example, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Or move one of your other centers up. I mean, you're not trying to get Monahan to play in your bottom six, right? That's not really something I feel would be too ideal, considering the progression and where Monahan has gone. I mean, Monahan is playing left wing right now for the Canadiens in their top six, so it's definitely not an inappropriate option to try him out at wing in New York. But of course, I mean, these other names, Beauvillier is a winger himself, so if you're trying to go out there and considering whatever it is, you're probably trying to fill out a winger spot. So if you're a New York Rangers fan, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these two names in particular, Sean Monahan or Anthony Beauvillier, being a target for your squad? Out of the names that were listed on The Athletic, are these the two guys that you want the most? Or are you interested more so in like a Jordan Eberle or a Kiefer Sherwood? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if it is Monahan or Beauvillier that in which you want the most, what is the max price you'd be willing to pay? Canadiens fans, Blackhawks fans, let me know your thoughts in the comment section as well. What are your opinions on these guys heading over to the Rangers, and what would you want in return? I know for a lot of Canadiens fans, the Monahan thing is tough to talk about because he's been so alright this season that many fans would be interested in him sticking around, and that, hey, we could actually get some good leadership and veteran qualities in the longer term if we sign this guy to another contract. So there's an entire kerfuffle to have about that, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Monahan, Beauvillier, New York Rangers, yay or nay, Chicago fans, Montreal fans, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.